Welcome to Margin Business Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. In today's episode, we got TJ Highland. TJ is the Director of Global Partnerships at Elevate Brands. Elevate Brands is buying, launching, operating, and optimizing and rapidly scaling e-commerce brands with a focus on the Amazon platform. Welcome, TJ. Okay, welcome to Margin Business Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm very happy to have TJ here today. TJ will gonna tell us more about his professional life, his way to success, and how everything happened from the beginning up to today. So yeah, welcome, TJ. Please give us more details about where you are today and how did you got where you are today, actually.
Yeah, well, first off, thank you for having me. It's an honor, so I appreciate that. Right now, I am the Director of Global Partnerships at Elevate Brands. What we do at Elevate is we acquire and operate businesses that are generally based on Amazon, but e-commerce businesses in general. So what my role is there is looking to partner with other organizations that have their clients and have the sort of trust and respect of their clients and have them be advocates for Elevate, right? And I've been in the Amazon world and the e-commerce industry since 2014, and we can go into that a little bit. But I've made a number of connections, and from our perspective, 2014, especially in the Amazon world, is a very, very long time ago, and there's not a lot of people that were around back then, still around today, right? And for a variety of reasons. So it's a bit of a different group of people, but I am honored to be, in that world. And obviously we can talk a little bit deeper about how I got to where I am.
Sure, that will be very interesting. Let's begin from, kind of the start. Where did you grow up, and the school time? Is there, city or whatever you have information for us, what could be helpful?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in New York City. I lived here for the first 18 years of my life. It's actually where I am right now, but it's not where I normally am. So I'm just here for the week. Normally I'm based in Austin, Texas. So a little bit different than New York. But yes. For university, I went to school in Washington, D.C. And I studied international business there and had a minor in Spanish, which I've definitely lost a little bit. I know, I wish I hadn't, but it's definitely useful in business conversations, right? And anytime you can add another level definitely. And more languages and more opportunities to connect to people, that's really incredibly valuable. Also, when I was in university, I studied abroad in Spain, in Madrid, so not too far from where I believe you are, Omar, right?
Exactly, yes. What did you study in Spain, actually? Sorry to interrupt your video. I just wanted to let you know that I really appreciate you having you here today, watching this video right now. And I wanted to let you know that Margin Business can help you to scale your business through optimized listings, localized listings, and translations. If you want to know more, just go to marginbusiness.com and we are happy to reply to any of your questions. Now, I will let you watch your video. One more thing. If you like our content, please hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. Thank you and enjoy.
So it was just a continuation of the studies that I was doing in the US. So it was all of our classes totally in Spanish. So I had a business class and an art history class, and what else do we have? It was not typical university, right? Where like the art history class, you spent a lot of the times at the museums, but you're there and that's where the works of art are. So it's a little bit different. But the business classes were very much just regular business types of marketing and this, that, and the other classes just in Spanish. So it was really interesting to learn. Obviously, culturally is different too, right? The way the Europeans and Spaniards do business compared to the way the Americans do business. So yes, that part was very, very eye-opening, I think. Yeah.
So in Madrid, you have been studying how many years?
No, I was just there for 6 months.
Okay,
Not
6 months,
very long. Yeah.
But still 6 months. I mean, this is like they've thrown you actually in the cold water. So they bring you over, and then it's like everything in Spanish. I mean, it's you must have been fluent after the 6 months in Spanish, actually.
I was, and I actually, when I was there, I was living with a family as well. So,
So you see,
even when you
yeah.
like sort of left the classroom situation or the school situation, you were still conversing in Spanish. As much as they wanted to practice their English with me, they understood that it was really for me to learn more in
Yes,
Spanish. So,
definitely.
as young kids, I think they were probably like 8, 10, and 12 years old at the time or something like that. So they loved that fact, and it was pretty awesome. But yeah, I really, like you said, when I left there, I was definitely fluent in Spanish. Unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to continue that on a daily basis. So I have lost a little bit. No, not really. No.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought like New York is pretty bilingual, in Spanish.
Well, New York is very multilingual, right?
Okay.
So you can walk down the street and hear 10 different languages.
Okay.
But I definitely didn't do it right after I came back. So I still have the ear for it. The tongue is what's lacking, I think.
Okay, that's already. I think that's amazing. When you do some studies abroad and really, especially in countries like Spain and France, definitely they don't speak any other language. So or they don't want to. So then you're forced to speak their language. And when you're young, you can have like in a very small amount of time, you can be very fluent in that language.
Well, it's interesting you say that because my grandfather had done international business for a long time. And when I was studying, our family came over to visit, and we met with a guy and his family who was his biggest client in Spain. And we sat down at dinner, and my family didn't speak Spanish and their family didn't speak English. So I had to sit there and sort of translate back and forth. So it was a dinner, and it was nice, and it was like sort of social, but it was also, brought on by the business aspect, and culturally that kind of is where it connected to.
Okay. I mean, like I said, it's the cultural aspect is just amazing, because here in Europe you have, you have seen it yourself. You can go from 200-300 kilometers north in a complete other culture, while going 500-600 kilometers down, you're again in another culture. It's completely crazy. But when you flew back to United States to New York, I suppose, what did you do? Did you use your skills in some way? I mean, in a job or something where you could think like, yeah, this is something I could do? Or
yeah, so I went back and I finished university in Washington, D.C. And then I got into the international business world. So I started working at a company called World First, which did cross-border payments, so foreign exchange, buying, selling currency. And then what I actually did was a subset of that, which was helping Amazon sellers or sort of online businesses that were listing and selling their products internationally. So if you think about it, you're a US-based business, you're listing your products on Amazon UK and Amazon Spain, you're going to get paid in British pounds and in euros.
Yes.
At the time, Amazon didn't even have a solution to help you convert your pounds and your euros back to dollars. Yes. You as the business owner had to figure that out, or you wouldn't have been getting paid. So what World First did at the time was provide these businesses with local receiving accounts in the currencies in which they needed to receive those funds in and then convert them back to their home currency. So I did that for a number of years, and that's really how I got into the Amazon world and dealt with sellers and learned there. Because what it was, selling internationally was a big opportunity, right? A lot of these brands pre-2014 had only really had the opportunity to sell into the US, and now it's like, well, I know the Amazon platform, I know how rank works, I know how PPC, I know how all this works, and I can leverage FBA. So what's the difference for me to send a package to a warehouse in Kentucky as it is to send one to London or to Madrid, right? When FBA was up and running. So, that was really interesting for us. And from our perspective, Amazon rolled out a solution to help a little bit after that, and our solution was significantly cheaper than theirs, right? And so every conversation that we were having was about how we could help these businesses save money on every single transaction that they were making, right? And that adds up. So whether it's a smaller seller and it's just $1,000 over the month, that's a big $1,000 for them. Or as you get to larger sellers where the savings over a month period could be 10, 20, 30, $40,000 or more, that's more money that they can invest back into their business, right? So to go from slow growth to medium growth to hyper growth, and to make sure you're capitalizing on this investment that you're taking internationally.
Well, first, I think they're still there, and they're very big, as far as I remember, because back then, as you mentioned, it was only them, and the Amazon market was a lot more open, a lot easier to access. So the money flow was as well a lot. I mean, let's not say it was better, but it was, it was more. I think not regulated. Right now, it's a lot more regulated. Before there was more ins and outs.
Yeah, just in general, I would say selling on Amazon back in 2014, we used to call it in retrospect a bit of like the Wild Wild West.
Yes, exactly.
There's minimal rules from Amazon, from other sellers, from black hats and all this things. It's like there was no real control, especially surrounding like VAT and taxes and
yeah, this is
like
so, unfortunately it came heavy now, but
well, right. And I think that was a big pivot point in the online selling world, right?
Yes.
And it started out of Europe actually, where the EU said, hey, you as Amazon are making all these sales, and that's where it was one of those first court cases where is it Amazon or is it the third party sellers, right? And
yeah, exactly.
So what happened was Amazon was getting cracked down by the government. So then they said, you have to pay these taxes. You're responsible for all these sales. And they said, no, we're not. All these sellers under us are, they actually all operate their own business. We're just a platform, kind of like a pass through. And then at that point, Amazon had to crack down and make sure everyone had a VAT or EORI number and kind of really leveled the playing field for, in that instance, it was leveling it for local Europeans that had those numbers that were going to have to pay taxes anyway. And, there was definitely, and I don't know how many, but there was definitely American sellers and Chinese sellers and wherever that kind of floated under the radar for a while.
Yes.
And then once the crackdown came, it definitely leveled the playing field. And similarly in the US, right? A lot of the local states in the year following, maybe 2 years following, cracked down and introduced legislation where they would collect the sales tax before even dispersing the payment out. So,
wow.
I think that was a big change in sort of leveling the playing field, because if you are a Chinese seller, and you're not paying VAT or taxes or anything, no matter where,
Definitely.
like you already have a leg up on the competition because you might be the manufacturer as well. So you could be the manufacturer without sort of the overhead of buying from the manufacturer and then not paying taxes. And then all these other things that you might be doing, the cost really, really were low for them. And then the prices that they listed were low. So in that instance, it was really interesting to see sort of a very much a leveling of the playing field. And I think we're still really there today.
Yes, we are. I think so as well. And at the same time, with Amazon as well, the whole payment providers and everything, they needed as well, obviously, to be regulated. So there were a lot. I think there were quite a few smaller ones, but now we have the stable big ones which are still in the game, and they provide as well amazing services. Just to mention quickly, not to mention any favoritism here, but it's true. There, without them, the whole online game would be down to banking, and that would be terrible. So.
Well, that's really where the crux of this whole thing is. You can sell as much as you want around the world, but if you're in a region in which you're not going to be able to get paid, then you can't do it. And a lot of time, banking is still very antiquated in the whole scheme of things, that a lot of these financial tools of fintech have really come in and sort of saved the day, or at least bridge the gap,
Yes,
right? So
exactly.
a lot of the fintech companies are not banks themselves; they are money service businesses, but they're extremely regulated, right? And
Yes,
after World First, I moved over to Payoneer, which is a
that's the
pretty
next point.
well-known
Yeah.
global company, right? And they help millions of people around the world,
Oh,
way
yes.
more than just Amazon sellers, right? So you're really connecting the world and allowing the freelancers in the Philippines, and this software developers in Ukraine and Argentina and wherever they may be,
Service-based
provide
businesses, everything.
yeah. And then to give them the opportunity to make a living for themselves by potentially working online and working from their home. And obviously we've seen everyone shift to a home model to a degree over the last 18 months or so with COVID, but coming back even before that, the ability to work in the Philippines and be a freelancer and work and help build. A lot of these Amazon businesses are supported by VAs and freelancers, and
Yes.
it's from a financial perspective, the Amazon businesses couldn't operate without the VAs, and vice versa, right? So the VAs have built an incredible business, and the Philippines has an incredible reputation for that, right? Especially in the Amazon world.
No, and for Payoneer as well, what is very positive, that, as you said already, they have connected the whole world, actually, not only Amazon, but they came up with things which is still wow. It's the local bank accounts. I mean, others done it before, but I think what Payoneer has done it was very special. At the same time, they pushed out cards. You could wire within their system as well money, which is as well not very common. I mean, without paying fees, for example. It's
right.
It's like a big community for me. It's Payoneer is one of my favorites. I mean, there is plenty other outside, but it's out there. But really, it's one of the easiest and one of the fastest. You can go with.
Yeah, and the Scott Gallant, who's the CEO there, echoes that often, right? In terms of like bridging all the gaps and sort of opportunities for everyone. And like I touched on, all these people around the world to be able to get paid, and then also to pay, right? And you touched on that, in network payments, they do for free. They could absolutely charge a fee for that, but
yes,
if you're paying from whomever to your freelancer to your supplier, you want it to be as beneficial for the person receiving the money as it is for the person paying the money. And then you want, in a lot of regions in which banking is not as strong, the card is an incredible asset. Like we talk about Southeast Asia, Latin America, Eastern Europe, that's where the card usage is the highest for sure.
Yeah, because in some countries it's just not most of the people don't have access to banking. Maybe some don't even know this fact. But mostly around the world there is so many people. When I remember back in 2010, 2012. There was nobody, the freelancers didn't know how to get their money. There were still questions of Western Union, which is completely backwards. I was like, oh, that's not even having bank account is very. And I realized, that people actually needed something like that, and Payoneer just gave them what they actually needed, and made it easy for every single one, even if they don't have a bank account accessible. They could just easily pull out money with their ATM card from all around the world. So definitely amazing. What did you do there exactly?
Yeah, so for Payoneer, I was the head of partnerships for North America. So we actually did a number of projects to help businesses around the world. So the partnerships is one of those titles which I now still have, but it's a bit undefined because it can cover a lot of things, right?
Yes.
In reality, what it is connecting with other businesses to help their clients, right? So one of the big projects that we worked on at Payoneer that I did was working with the drop shipping world, right? So there's a ton of drop shippers based in Vietnam. It's a very hot market for drop shippers in Southeast Asia in general. But all the drop shipping companies that also do the fulfillment, sort of print on demand, really more than drop shipping, but print on demand, are based in the US. So now what you have is a situation where the drop shipper is based in Vietnam, has a bank account and a credit card in Vietnamese dong, getting paid from Shopify or whatever payment provider in US dollars. And they also have to pay per order to the print on demand company so that their orders can be processed. So without something like Payoneer, that would be a complete mess. And it's actually pretty hectic for the print on demand company to be charging credit cards in Vietnamese dong too, right? So what we did was we provided an integration which works where the Vietnamese seller's Payoneer account is able to be charged directly by the print on demand company. So we provide them with a Payoneer USD account. They can hold all their funds from their Shopify, from their sales, and then anytime there's a transaction, it can charge directly from there, and then go back, when they wanted to withdraw the funds back to their own bank account or to a card or whatever it may be. It's just essentially giving way more options on this process.
Okay, sounds really good. And how did you manage afterwards? Because you, in the beginning, you said you're working now with Elevate Brands. The jump, because it's from financial sector to Amazon aggregator. How does that jump happen? That would be very interesting to know.
Yeah, so it was a bit unexpected. I was not necessarily looking to leave Payoneer. I was pretty happy there. And like you said, I have been in the financial sector, and that was about 7 years there with those two companies. And then the guys at Elevate kind of recognized that I knew the Amazon world and sort of the players in the space, and we were talking with them a bit about a partnership as well. So we had talked a little bit, and then they said, are you looking to leave? Like, we are interested in bringing you on to help us work through building out a partnerships team at Elevate, because before that there was nothing, right? So a lot of the aggregator space relies on referrals, right? So referrals in from other businesses, other sellers, and they typically compensate very nicely for those referrals. But you have to have something feeding the funnel. And a lot of time that comes in from the partnership space. So I've actually only been there about 10 weeks. So it's still pretty new in the sense, but it's been a pretty smooth transition in the sense of, still in many ways helping and supporting Amazon businesses and brands that sell online, just in a different way. So, I touched in the beginning about like with our receiving accounts compared to Amazon solution or whomever solution, the fintech companies allowed businesses to save a lot of money compared to, what the standard was or what Amazon was charging on the foreign exchange or whatever it is. Whereas today, it's now allowing these businesses to realize what they've built. If we look back to, those initial couple of years, 2014, 15, 16, 17, in theory, there was no exit option, right? So these entrepreneurs that were building something were building it to possibly run it into perpetuity, can't speak, or forever, right? Forever. So, now in the world of the aggregator space, there's a ton of options for these brands to take what they've built, capitalize it, and potentially have life-changing money. And a lot of time it is life-changing money, to either do it again because you're a serial entrepreneur and that's what you love, and you love building things, you love building brands, and you love building businesses, or pivot to something else. I think a lot of the people that we work with, that we're paying out millions of dollars, they either say, I'm going to start building another brand, or they say, I want to get into real estate, right? Or some of them have said they wanted to get into cryptocurrency, but to each his own, right? Like each one of those operates as their own sort of business in terms of capital up front, and especially if you're coming in, after you exit, you have way more capital than when you started 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. So that ramp period should not be nearly as long as it was initially.
Okay. How would be, for example, the process? Because some of the aggregators, what they do is they maybe finance the project along the way, work with you and the brand, obviously get their share as well, or is it really the complete exit? You take over the brand, maybe you stay in there with another 6 months, 12 months, help them to do the transition smoothly, show them everything, because it's quite hard if you have a multi-million-dollar business, all the operational stuff, all the processes. It's not possible just to throw it at somebody and then expect that they can do it. How would that be? How there is as well teams, I suppose, available.
Yeah, so a little bit of background before jumping into that. Elevate has right now about 130 people, and about 110 of those are on our operational side. So those are the people that include the brand managers, the logistics, the PPC, the design, the marketing, and all that, right? So they're the ones that are operating the brands that we've acquired. And to date, I think we're just over 30 brands in about a year and a half, 2 years. So we're moving pretty quickly and looking to close or on average, we're closing about one a week. So to your point, that's a lot of operational upkeep. And from the beginning, our two co-founders, Ryan and James, they were Amazon sellers themselves, right? So you see a lot of these aggregators come in and have a lot of money behind them, but they don't even know how to operate a business. Somebody probably told them along the line, just put things on Amazon, they'll sell, you get 20% profit, and that's it, right? And it's way more complicated than that, as you know, and everyone else knows, right? Yes. So, we are seeing a bit of struggles with some of the other aggregators now having to deal with price compressions due to logistic costs and PPC costs and all that stuff. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out. But in terms of deal structure and your original question is, every business is different. And that's from a brand perspective. I think one of the things that kind of separates Elevate in this whole grand scheme of things is we are open to joint ventures and partnerships. Whereas a lot of the other aggregators will say, we want 100% exit and we are going to run the brand, and you can go, ride off into the sunset or whatever it may be, right? Take your money and run. From our perspective, if a brand owner wants to stay on, wants to do a joint venture, that's incredibly exciting to us, right? Because for a couple of reasons. One, that brand owner knows their business better than anybody in our entire business. We could hire even like a former employee of theirs, and they still wouldn't know as much as the owner knows about everything to do with their business. Number two, what that indicates is the brand owner still believes in their business. They still think there's a ton of potential there, right? So they don't want to get out yet. Whether we do a joint venture and, with typically how it would work is a joint venture and say it's just 50-50. Then obviously you share the revenues, but then, Elevate would have the first right to buy the other 50% in year 2 and then year 3, right? Or buy different percentages. Okay, I understand. So every structure is different. To be honest with you, the most popular structure with us today is still that 100% acquisition. Okay. But how the back end changes is the earnout side of things, right? So every earnout and is a different potentially opportunity for the brand owner as well, right? If in a similar situation, if you still believe in your business and think you're growing 30% month over month or year over year, you can project what you'll do next year, and they'll put in some targets and say, if we hit X plus Y, you'll get X% of the revenue, and then X plus Y plus Z in year 3, you'll get X% of the revenue. So, you know,
Even
a lot
better,
of times, yeah, and a lot of times businesses are okay with that, because what it is, you know, it comes back to this whole thing of a partnership or a relationship. You have to be comfortable with who you're doing business with, right? And that's something that we talk about a lot, right? Especially when we go into a joint venture or a partnership, we're joining forces with them. So from the jump, we need to be able to align on whose responsibilities are what and whose responsibilities are that, right? Both sides. And then the other side is, you know, when there is an earnout and you are the brand owner, you have to have confidence that whomever is acquiring your brand is able to operate it and grow it. And like I said, we've seen some instances where that's not the case. And, you know, hopefully that brand owner got some more money up front, but, you know, that's not always the situation. So it's every deal structure is different. And, you know, how I feel is like, we play a very fair game, right? We're going to be able to listen to you and hear what you want. And nowadays, when we see those larger businesses, you know, doing 10, 20, 30, 40 million dollars, to your point before, that's not a one-man shop anymore. That's not a guy and two VAs, right? That's typically a bigger team. An example is we acquired a business the other day, and we end up acquiring their staff as well. The owner is actually going to leave, but I think 10 or 12 of their staff are going to come and join and be Elevate employees, right? Okay. Because now heading into their busy season, which, you know, we're in Q4, so it's always busy. You know, if we acquired that business and tried to put it on our staff or our new people that we'd have to hire to do that, you know, it wouldn't be a smart decision, right? So to bring on their staff, and obviously they're all excited about that too. And then what we can do is take that niche that they're in and grow that niche, right? Because those employees already know how to do X, Y, Z with that sort of category, with that product line. So it allows us to be a bit more strategic about who we're looking to acquire as well.
Okay, because my question was, the reason for this question was as well, because when I'm a business owner, or if I'm a business owner, I have like that's $20-30 million business, okay? And I built this from scratch, from one product over years, you know? That means it's like my baby, you know? My suggestion, or I was supposing that everyone thinks the same. So when they have this business, then they obviously want to stay like 12 months, maybe 3 years, you know, to see what is this brand they're going to do. Are they, because obviously they don't want to, you know, it's just a priority of things. It's not just like, just give it away, get 10 million and then I'll run off, you know, no, right. Because, you know, they built it and it's theirs, and they want to see what's going to happen, and they want to speak a little bit as well about it. So that's why that was the question, actually, why I came up with that question.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that Ryan, our CEO, says often is, you know, building a business is personal, and exiting your business should be as well, right? Yeah. So it should be done on your terms, and that's kind of how I said, you know, we work with businesses. We'll listen to you. If you want to stay on for 2 years, 3 years, and if you wanted to, even if you wanted to exit 100%, but you still wanted to work on the brand that you still have, cool. Like we can figure out solutions that work for you there. You know, so every situation is different, and I feel like we've done we've acquired 30 brands, and between joint ventures and earnouts and different types of paydays, you know, all that stuff is all over the map in terms of options, right?
So after all, it's an emotional matter. And brand owners are 100% emotional about it. So that's good to hear that you really taking care of that aspect. That was really something really deep into it. And from what I would expect if I'm a brand owner, actually, and want to sell, having exactly this conversation would give me confidence in Elevate, and as well in myself to just handle it over, you know. This is amazing, really.
Well, what I think is it's exactly that. You have to have the conversation. That has to be number one. Obviously, you need to put your business in a good position to succeed or to
Yeah.
exit. But you have to have the conversation, and in reality, you have to have multiple conversations to understand what you want and what you're able to get. Not even talking about sort of multiples or paydays, but to your
Yeah,
point about
exactly.
structure and to talk about, life expectations and goal expectations, right? Do you have a number in your head that you need before you would exit? Cool, but do you even know where your business is valued at today?
Yeah.
Probably not. I think a lot of times we see businesses come in and do not have a good grasp on their financials, right? They'll just look at QuickBooks and say, this is my number. And it's like, cool, but
Yeah.
there's also all these other things that you got to either add in and also take out, right? So, we do a number of activities on education for brands that, if you're thinking of exiting in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, there's still a lot of things that you can do today to put your business in a better position. Like one of the simple ones is to do your accounting based off accrual accounting versus cash accounting.
Okay.
And I think just from an easy perspective to think about it is, when you look at numbers and we look at numbers, we want to be able to speak the same language, right? So we all and probably every aggregator speaks accrual accounting because that's kind of how it is. But also when you're working in a cash accounting model, there's a ton of things that are added back in that you wouldn't want in terms of like a cost analysis. So, from an accrual accounting perspective, it's a lot easier. And I mean, and to that point, I'm not an accountant, so I would hire an accountant. And even if you think
Sure.
you're small and you're not just there yet, have someone just at least set you up today so that you can run correctly moving forward and not have to change it when you're already doing $1 million a year, right?
Yeah, I agree, because all of this sounds very future focused, not, I mean, in general for business, but I mean as well, Elevate, what you say about Elevate and all the structure inside. What do you think is the next steps, what Elevate will be taking within the next, I don't know if we can talk now about years, but I think we can talk in months, because years will be pretty hard when it's so fast, something so rapidly. It's very hard to predict the next 5 years. So I will ask only for the next few months.
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, what we're focused on today is acquiring more businesses, and what has happened over time is as we've gotten bigger, as we've raised more money, the potential deal size that we're open to and willing to do has increased as well, right? So now we're looking at businesses doing at least $1 million SDE or sort of EBITDA a year and up, right? Because when you think about it, we could acquire a business doing $500K a year, or we could acquire a business doing $5 million a year. From an operational perspective, they are likely very similar. They could be, perhaps 2 more VAs here and less SKUs over here, but they're likely very similar. So in terms of investment time from even our M&A team and our financial teams, what's more valuable to them, like in terms of dollars and cents. So, because we now have the ability to scale and to do larger deals, that's kind of where we are. In the next sort of 12 months, I think it's going to be very telling what some of the other players in the market do first. There's some that have been rumored to go public. We will see how that goes, and I think
that will be amazing. I'm waiting to see that.
Yeah, I mean that's aimed for the beginning of next year. I think a big thing for us is to continue to grow our valuation, to continue to raise money to buy more businesses. But most importantly is on the operational side, right? Like we want every business that we acquire to be growing year over year, right? So, one of the things that I think we do that perhaps other aggregators don't do is we continue to look to launch new products under the brands that we've acquired, right? So if you acquire a brand in the outdoor space, and your brand manager thinks that you can, add something here or there to make a bundle or to make a complementary product, right? So, looking to not only grow the brand with the existing portfolio, but to grow the brand with new products into new markets, into new platforms. So if you wanted to say taking into Europe is a big job for us, and we're launching a number of our brands in Europe as we speak. Also looking to launch them on Walmart and on Shopify, and then all it really comes down to, and those opportunities are all identified in the sort of analysis process when looking at the brand and saying, you know, what else can we do? What other levers can we pull to make this brand go and grow and grow and grow?
You know, for me, definitely, this is such an exciting topic. Because, you know, in general, the aggregators, what they do and what their purpose and the mission, especially Elevate Brands, it's you know, it's amazing what they do and how they do it and how they proceed and all the operations behind. I mean, it's not just yeah, we're going to buy and do this and that. No, it's there is a whole structure behind which is which not everyone is able to do. So that's why I have a lot of respect for all of these businesses, aggregators, and yeah, I'm just sitting back and watching what is going to happen, and it's really it's a new era. It's exciting. It's amazing, and yeah, I have one last question for you, actually.
Sure.
What would be your message to the world in general in these times for entrepreneurs? For anyone who maybe wants to change his job, or he wants to go in a new industry or do new things, something, yeah, a message for them all.
Yeah, maybe first off, for entrepreneurs and geared towards the online seller is, you know, I get asked often, is it too late? Am I too late to capitalize on this e-commerce boom? And my short answer is absolutely not. You know, there's so many businesses that, like I said, back in 2015, when you were building a business, you didn't really have an end goal. You didn't really have an exit opportunity. Whereas today, it's clear. Build a lean business, build a profitable business, scale it to a certain number, and you can capitalize on that. You know, something I've always said is, sellers know how to sell, right? The people that know Amazon, that know Shopify, and you are good at that. So what I would say is capitalize on that. And if you're in a rut and you're stuck in a job that you don't really like, you know, sometimes you have to take that chance, but it has to be a calculated risk to get there. You know, and I feel like many people in the Amazon world had once taken that risk. You know, nobody started as, today I'm, you know, especially in the older days, today I'm an Amazon seller. You know, it's like you start doing retail arbitrage and buying wholesale and selling retail, and you're like, okay, cool, I'm learning this platform and I'm making a little bit of money, and then I'm making a little bit of more money, and now I can take this money that I've made and invest in private label where my margins are going to increase, and then I'm making more money, and I make a complementary product and I make a little bit more money. And that's always best case scenario, and best case scenario isn't always the situation. So if you hit those hurdles, if you hit those road bumps, you know, you have to power through. And the one thing that I've loved most about working in the Amazon seller and online seller community for the last 7 years is exactly that. There is a community, and
Yes.
As a seller and as a brand and as a business, you absolutely have to leverage your community, whether it's regionally, whether it's, you know, online or via podcasts or via YouTube or whatever it is. There's so much education out there. And the last point is, if you're an Amazon seller, new or old, and you run into an issue, and we see this all the time at Elevate, you know, we don't know the answer to everything, but it's very, very likely that somebody else has already gone through that issue or been shut down for that reason, or, you know, had this issue with a black hat, someone attacking their listing, right? So you have to learn, you have to ask questions, you have to be able to reach out to people and be part of these communities for free or to pay. And I know there's a number on both sides, but, you know,
Yeah.
start and do it at your own pace, and there's no doubt that, you know, success will come.
That's I think so as well. You know, just search and you will find the success. This is definitely to wrap this conversation up. Thank you so much, TJ. That was amazing conversation, amazing information. And yeah, great to have you. And hopefully we speak soon, yeah?
Yeah, of course, Omar. Thank you so much.